Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to continue on with talking about the environmental forces. We're going to focus on social cultural forces. Social cultural forces are basically made up of two words, social and cultural. So social forces, what I like to use is the word trends. It kind of helps clarify it, make life a little bit easier to help understand. But if you think about what are the social trends happening right now in the world today? I mean, if you talk about the word social as in the word itself, we use social media quite a bit. So apps like Twitter, TikTok, Facebook continue to still be a trend. So that's obviously one avenue to look at when we look at socially. The other side of it is culturally. What culturally is changing these days? So when you put those two together, it's basically looking at all the trends that look at the demographics within the environment. So we're going to look at a few of those today, and we're going to look more specifically at social cultural and how it breaks down into about 5 different categories. So let's do that now. All right, so you know I like acronyms, so here's another acronym. So when we're going to look at all the social cultural forces, there's 5 that we're going to break down into different categories. And the word I like to use, or the acronym, another acronym, is MECH. MECH. Think of it, marketing so boring, blech, mech, right? But it's not, because it's exciting and it's fun and it's how it makes the world spin and everything else. So the first one we're going to look at is what the M stands for. So let's do that now. Okay, so media usage is what the M stands for. And we need to look at how companies are changing what the typical form of media was. And to help do that, let's kind of think about that for a second. So when you think of media used back in the 70s, the 60s, and a little bit in the early 80s, it's changed. The only forms that they really had for media was radio, TV, and even print, so newspapers. And if you look at all 3 of those, other than radio, which is kind of still there, it's dying off, obviously, if you think of how much TV you guys have watched. So companies understand that, and with the demographics that we talked about, getting older, the aging population, we need to look at, well, what's different ways that we could use media to our advantage for companies? Because they'll come to us and say, hey, look, we need to drive some sales. We need to hit this certain demographic. How do we get there? Okay, well, that's great. So what kind of media is available? Well, obviously the biggest one, social media, right? Social media is playing a huge role. And what that looks like, I mean, we're treading on new ground that we're not really familiar with. But to look at some similarities, I mean, so companies, to encourage that, if anyone can recognize this advertisement for a certain hamburger company, it's brilliant. I love the idea. Obviously, it's at McDonald's, and it's the Wi-Fi logo. So getting more customers or a certain demographic to stay in their stores and use their free Wi-Fi, right? That's what it's implying. And what's the best about this is that there's no words. It's implied, and I love that type of marketing. It's actually fantastic and brilliant. And it's changing, right? The idea companies are trying to keep you in their stores. Why would they want to do that? I mean, it's proven that the longer you stay within a certain store, the more you'll shop and increase sales. And that goes, if you look at Real Canadian Superstore, how they have the racks all lined up in rows going all the way across, so that in order to buy the milk, which is at the back of the store, you literally got to walk through the entire store, keeping you in the store for at least 15 minutes to buy a bag of milk. And they know, and they've run stats and numbers and proven that you actually increase your sales the longer we can keep customers in store. So that's one way we need to look at media usage. All right, next one. All right, so health and fitness is what the H store for when we talk about MECH. So the H, MECH. So health and fitness. So it obviously plays a huge role. Nike being a huge player in the world of sporting goods these days. But it's important to understand that if you think of what you've been taught in school versus when I was in school, it really focuses on not just on the physical aspect of fitness, which really was pushed back. Well, now we're looking at mental awareness, and that's where Nike is jumping on the yoga bandwagon a little bit and saying, hey, we need to address not just the high athletes of the world, but we need to look at everyone in general, and that fitness and health is important to us. And a lot of companies are focusing on that, especially when you look at fast food. Fast food companies have struggled over the years when a certain gentleman made a movie called Super Size Me. Have you guys ever seen it? If you haven't, it's a great watch. Where McDonald's was slandered about how bad it was for you to eat McDonald's every single day. So companies now understand that it's really important, even so that governments now, if when you walk into a McDonald's or Wendy's or even on packages now of food, it has to, by law, show you the amount of calories on the packaging. That wasn't the case back then. And when you start looking, I mean, you go into Tim Hortons and look at what a cappuccino calorie count is. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, you're in the thousands of calories. Absolutely ridiculous. But anyways, companies realize that that's important. It's a trend now. It's not, I don't even know so much of it as a trend. It's kind of the norm, but it's definitely somewhere where it wasn't 20, 30 years ago, and now it's focusing more on that. And the same with fitness, understanding health, physical fitness, and mental health is playing a huge role. So companies need to understand that and take that to their advantage when they're introducing a new product or service, right? Let's look at the next one. Okay, so let's look at ethnic foods. Ethnic foods is being the next E. So you got M for media usage, H for health and fitness, and then the first E is ethnic foods. Why does that play a huge role? Everything ties back, we talked about it in the last video, is demographics, right? So here's Wendy's doing a sriracha burger. Why is sriracha? If anyone's ever had sriracha, it's a very spicy spice that goes into the burger and into the sauce. I'm not sure if they actually put it in the breading of the burger, but they might. It's very spicy. Why is that? Why would a company like Wendy's want to do that? Does that make any sense? Well, if you think about the demographics and we look at where we're going and the amount of international immigration coming from India, where you get a demographic loving spicy foods. I myself has kind of jumped on that bandwagon. Never really had spicy food when I grew up. I mean, it was plain Jane burgers, ketchup, that was about it. But loving the spicy foods now, and obviously people coming over from India have that desire. And it's spreading, so companies are trying to take advantage of that, and also understand that their demographic, because of immigration, plays a huge role. So those spicy foods are definitely a huge advantage and a market that they want to take advantage of. And you'll see all kinds of companies that were typically, if you look at Subway, even go into the grocery stores and you look at what kind of foods are available, plays a huge role. So ethnic foods is definitely growing. It is not going away. So companies that struggle, the Subways of the world are struggling a little bit, trying to come up with a spicy alternative. And also if you look at the amount of restaurants that are opening up, all over, basing and supporting the ethnic food industry, hopefully that they can actually take a piece of that fast food industry. So you're seeing a lot of that more and more, and that will only continue to grow. So that's something to think about when you're marketing products or any service, possibly even with regards to ethnic foods, right? Okay, next one. All right, so second last, so our next E, because there's two E's in MAC, right? So media usage, health and fitness, ethnic foods, and then the fourth one now being environmental awareness. So this is a great little photos. There's always ones with environmental. If you search up on Google, there's all kinds of pictures. But I love this, right? For those that are into underwater, I'm a scuba diver myself, so I kind of love the oceans, and I love the fact that this ad really makes you start thinking, right? I don't know if you can read down there, but it gets into saying scary and even more scary. So it's really strives to point home, and it's done by the WWE down there, so try and push the image that we need to protect our oceans, but also taking it to the next level. It really starts to make you think there's bigger things out there that we need to be looking at other than just ourselves. And you guys have grown up with that understanding. If you think of that water bottle, right, we think about recycling. Go back 20, 30 years, there was no even talk of that. You just take a plastic and throw it away. Where now it's our normal daily trend, right? It's the first thing, is it recyclable? We check the bottom, we look for the little triangle with the arrows on it. We think about, well, how does this affect the ozone? our carbon footprint. We think about all these things now as a regular basis. So it's a trend now, and even more so. And that's mostly because companies have made it important because they realize consumers, it's important to them, it's important to yourselves, right? Trees, you look at forests. There's a company called 10 Tree. You guys might have heard of them. They started here in Canada. They're on Dragon's Den. For every piece of clothing that you purchase from them, they donate $1 towards the forest industry and help plant trees. So there's a huge opportunity here, and companies are always trying to think about how they can make that connection because that's not something that's going away. It's actually even getting bigger and bigger these days. So when you have a product, how do you make it environmentally awareness? Well, look at McDonald's and go back. I don't even know if you guys can remember, but they used to come in little styrofoam containers, which aren't recyclable, are bad for the environment. So they went to paper wraps. If you look at cups, Tim Hortons, trying to address, if you find a coffee cup, 90% of the time it's going to be a Tim Hortons cup laying on the side of the road. So all these companies trying to look at ways that they can really pull in the heartstrings a little bit to encourage you to buy or use their product. So environmental awareness is really crucial. So when you're thinking of your term projects, think about how does it affect this, because there has to be some angle that you could use that to your advantage. Okay, so next one. Okay, so the last one, changing gender roles. So with this one, it's best to describe. We're going to watch a quick little video. But basically what it's looking at what the typical, the stereotypical gender versus males versus females, and where they used to be. So, I mean, if you go back into the 50s or the 40s or even the early 70s, the typical woman would stay home, look after the family, and the male would be out making money and supporting the family. So that's changing. I mean, and this commercial will show that, and it's becoming more and more relevant these days. Certain companies, and I think I mentioned to you guys before, Home Depot is a perfect example of that. They realized 20 years ago that 50% of their clientele was actually women, and they totally revamped their business model. They flipped stores, they made them clean, they make them more appealing, they moved all the pretty products up to the front, or more eye-appealing to the front, and they pushed the more unappealing products and services to the back. Because the lumbers are in the end, the plumbing's at the back, the electrical at the back. But when you look at the front, you got the paint, decor, appliances are out the front of the store. So companies like Lowe's and Home Depot realize that. So it's not women in the workforce. That's not what changing gender roles is. It's a whole different thing. That's more economy. But we're looking at more about how companies are realizing that the trend now is that both parents work, and then there's not that the male also stays at home, but also the woman also goes to work. So it's a combination of both. It's not just women in the workforce, right? So let's quickly watch this quick little video. I love this. This is from Tide. Tide does amazing work with their commercials. I think I showed you the Super Bowl commercial that they did last year, which is absolutely fantastic. And this is another one of my favorites. So let's watch this.
Hi, I'm a dad mom. That means while my wife works, I'm at home being awesome. I know there's a lot of moms that are out there that look at my unique mixture of masculinity and nurturing, and they find it quite alluring. And I know that there's dads who are out there who are astonished with my ability to dress a 4-year-old. But here's a real kicker. I can take even the frilliest girl dress and fold it with complete accuracy. Boom. And with Tide Boost, I can use the brute strength of dad to mix with the nurturing abilities of my laundry detergent. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to go do pull-ups and crunches in the other room. Tide Boost is my Tide. What's yours?
Okay, so last but not least, so here it is. So socio-cultural forces, right? All the changes that are happening with regards to media usage, ethnic foods, health and fitness, or I got those in reverse, health and fitness, ethnic foods, environmental awareness, and changing gender roles. That's playing a huge role in social cultural forces these days. It's just 5 categories that kind of summarize them up. There's a few others, but at the end of the day, these are the masses. And I want you to really take time when you're doing your projects just to think about how all of these apply. Or can you use it to your advantage to market your product? Because that's the key, right? Don't just focus on just one thing. There's all kinds of opportunities out there. You just need to step back and take a look and see which one of these would apply to your product, all right? So once we're done this video, there's an assignment for you, and I'll see you guys next week. Have a great day.